Everyone is different. The 2020 Global Education Monitoring Report on Inclusion and Education believes that education is strongest when it embraces diversity. Learners should not have to adapt to the system. Instead, education system should adapt to their needs. Now, I will request Dr. Tripta Parmar, Principal Darbara Singh College of Education for Women in Loko, to welcome our today's resource person, Dr. Jaspreet Kaur, Associate Professor, Department of Elementary Education, Mata Sundari College, University of Delhi, who is going to deliberate on the topic, provisions and access to children with special needs. Over to you, Principal Ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Raki. I take it my prime privilege to introduce and welcome today's resource person on behalf of Sant Darbara Singh College of Education and my colleagues, Himalaya University, Uttarakhand, Guru Ramdas B.Ed College, Jalalabad, Kenway College of Education, Abopur. Dr. Jaspreet Kaur is presently working in Department of Elementary Education, Mata Sundari College, University of Delhi. She has teaching experience of about 2 decades. To her credit, she is actively involved in research with the purpose of implementing innovative ideas to enhance teaching learning experiences. She is adept at integrating technology, online learning environments to enhance learning programs. Her areas of interest are inclusive education, blended learning, mental health. She has worked on projects with UN Women and Save Children and other international organizations. She has presented papers at various national and international seminars and conferences of repute. She has authored 4 books and has received an award from Lions Club as Best Educator 2010. Now I request Dr. Jaspreet Kaur to share her views with the audience. Over to Dr. Jaspreet.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tripta. First of all, good afternoon, everybody. Namaskar, vanakkam, salam, sat sri akal to each and every person who is present on this online platform. Thank you, ma'am. I'm humbled and gratitude to Sant Darbara Singh College of Education for Women, MOGA, and also for having this online FDP in collaboration with Himalayan University, Guru Ramdas B.Ed College, and Kenway College of Education. It's a great honor to be with you all learned faculty members, students on this platform. Now, as you all know, today is the last day of this FDP. So I never say it's the last day. I always say it's the new beginning, because what all you have learned today, you are going to take it along with you and you will definitely implement it also. I take it that way. आप सभी मेरी स्क्रीन देख पा रहे हैं, मुझे सुन पा रहे हैं, तो कोई भी एक व्यक्ति मुझे थम्स अप कर दे.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Gurjeet, for telling me that. And this session is, though your cameras might be off because of data की जो limitation रहती है, but बीच-बीच में मैं आपके नाम लेकर पूछती रहूंगी कि आप मेरे साथ हैं कि नहीं. तो प्लीज कोशिश करिए कि आप सिर्फ फिजिकली कैमरा ऑफ करके नहीं, बट मेंटली भी आप प्रेजेंट रहें, क्योंकि इतना जो आपने इतने दिनों में सीखा है, आज शायद उसको मैं समराइज करूंगी, बिकॉज मैम ने मुझे शेयर किया, डॉक्टर ट्रिप्ता ने, कि बहुत सारे रिसोर्स पर्सन्स इस प्लेटफॉर्म पर आते रहे हैं और आपको बहुत सारी जानकारी देते रहे हैं. लेकिन मैं कुछ थोड़ा सा हटके बात करूंगी. We have all got, about various topics related to inclusive education. We have got all the information. Now it comes to us as teacher educators, as teachers, या जो pre-service teachers हैं, बच्चे हैं हमारे साथ जुड़े हुए हैं इस प्लेटफॉर्म पर, कि हम इनको अपने क्लासरूम्स में या अपने रोज की मर्रा की जिंदगी में इसको कैसे लेकर जाएं। तो अब आज जो मैं बात करूंगी मॉडिफिकेशंस एंड अकोमोडेशंस इन इंक्लूसिव सेटअप। इंक्लूसिव सेटअप क्या है इस बारे में मैं नहीं जाऊंगी क्योंकि आप सभी को मालूम है, लेकिन मैं आपको एक छोटी सी स्लाइड के माध्यम से आई विल ट्राई टू समराइज। इन केस यू हैव एनी इशू, यू वांट मी टू बी बाइलिंगुअल, you want me to be in English, whichever way you want, please write it in the chat box also, so that I will change my mode of speaking. Okay, now inclusion जो अगर हम शब्द को देखें तो, और अगर हम इसको विभाजित करते हैं इंक्लूजन शब्द को, तो आई से बनता है इंक्लूड ऑल। ओके, सो इफ आई लुक एट द वर्ड आई, इट मीन्स हम सभी को इंक्लूड करना है, वेदर द चाइल्ड हैज एनी काइंड ऑफ डिसेबिलिटी, नॉट ओनली डिसेबिलिटी बट आजकल क्रॉनिक डिजीजेस वाले बच्चे भी हमारे बीच में शामिल होते हैं, जैसे एड्स हैं या ट्रांसजेंडर्स के बच्चे हैं, तो वो भी हमारे, या ट्रांसजेंडर्स भी हैं, तो हम उनको भी मना नहीं कर सकते। वी ऑल नो दैट बिकॉज RTE सेज दैट राइट टू एजुकेशन 2009 में ये बात को बहुत तवज्जो दिया गया था कि इन सभी बच्चों को हमें इंक्लूड करना है। अगर मैं N की बात करूं तो नेशनल लेवल पॉलिसीज जिनसे आप वाकिफ हैं, सर्व शिक्षा अभियान, PWD, I am not again going in the depth, but in case you want a write up on this, I can very well give you that. Because समय बहुत थोड़ा है, तृप्ता मैम ने बोला है, उसी में मुझे सब कुछ समेटना है। तो करिकुलम अडेप्टेशंस की अगर मैं बात करती हूँ, तो करिकुलम अडेप्टेशन से कोई बता सकता है क्या समझते हैं आप?
To change the curriculum as per the needs of differently abled children.
Yes, हम उनको अडेप्ट कर सकते हैं। अडेप्टेशन का क्या मतलब होता है? मैं चेंज कर सकती हूँ जरूरत के अनुसार। अब करिकुलम को चेंज करना थोड़ा कठिन लगता है, बट टुडे वी विल सी हाउ वी कैन चेंज दैट आल्सो। अगर L से मैं बात करूं लेजिस्लेशंस की, आपको शायद कल के लेक्चर में ही बताया गया था कि क्या क्या प्रोविजंस होते हैं सरकार की तरफ से इन बच्चों के लिए, डिसेबिलिटी पेंशन, इससे पहले भी डिसेबिलिटी सर्टिफिकेट, इनकम टैक्स में क्या रिबेट दी जाती है, और साथ ही साथ अगर कोई किसी का पेरेंट गवर्नमेंट सर्विस में है एंड आफ्टर द डेथ ऑफ द पेरेंट द पेंशन गोज टू द चाइल्ड in case the child has disability of 40% and above, lifelong pension उस बच्चे को लग जाती है। बहुत सारे इस तरह के provisions हैं aids and appliances के भी। So these are some of the things. The next thing is you. You means understanding. हमें कोई भी चीज करने से पहले एक अंडरस्टैंडिंग फॉर्म करनी जरूरी होती है। नवीन कंबोज जी, आप मेरे साथ जुड़े हुए हैं, आप बताइए कि अंडरस्टैंडिंग से आप क्या समझते हैं? मिस्टर नवीन कंबोज, यू आर देयर ऑन द प्लेटफॉर्म। थैंक यू जसविंदर जी, थैंक यू। मिस्टर गरेवाल सिंह, इट्स एम्पथाइजिंग। यस, एब्सोल्युटली। नवीन जी, शायद आप जुड़े नहीं हुए हैं, या अगर माइक में कोई इशू है आप चैट में लिख सकते हैं। ओके, सो इट मींस अंडरस्टैंडिंग, हम उस व्यक्ति को समझें, ये नहीं कहें कि हाय बेचारा, उस तरह से नहीं, बट वी ट्राई टू हेल्प दैट पर्सन। थैंक यू। कमिंग टू द नेक्स्ट S इज सेंसिटाइजेशन। मनदीप जी, आप जुड़ी हुई हैं हमारे साथ। Yes, thank you जसविंदर जी। Not sympathy but empathy. Yes, बेचारा ना कहकर हम जो उसकी जरूरत है उसको हम empathize करें। Very right. गुरप्रीत जी, आप जुड़ी हुई हैं, आप बताइए what you mean by the word sensitization. गुरप्रीत मैम, अगर आप जुड़ी हुई हैं तो आप बता सकती हैं sensitization से आप क्या समझते हैं? गुरप्रीत जी, अगर आप लिखना चाहती हैं चैट में लिख सकती हैं। मिस्टर संदीप सिंह, यू आर देयर। और सोनाली कुमारी, आप हैं यहाँ पर जुड़ी हुई, तो आप बताइए सेंसिटाइजेशन से आप क्या समझते हैं? See, it's an interactive session. I would also like to know what you've learned. So the participants, they can unmute themselves and they can speak up if I call for your name, please. That really makes it up an interactive session. So, anyways, let's proceed. Anyone else would like to answer? Sensitization, people aware. Yes, the kind of stimuli we provide. Thank you, Dr. Kavit. Toilets लेकर आए. तो ये अब mandatory हो गया है because building का जो नक्शा है वो पास नहीं होता. We do not, we have to go through the mandate and then only we get an approval because the building has to be disabled friendly. Then next point I come is organization. Organization मतलब जिस संस्था में मैं काम कर रही हूँ, जिस संस्था से मैं जुड़ी हुई हूँ, they have to, that organization also not only has to make these changes, और जो I have tried to summarize what you might have learned in all these days. If you look at this presentation, this was a district इनको include किया जाता है. One of the biggest example here is Lemon Tree Hotels, जो कि काफी बड़े शहरों में ये होटल्स की एक चेन है, which is there in all the big towns, big cities. इनमें काम करना है, तो ये बच्चे उनके साथ रहकर एक ट्रेनिंग सीखते हैं, एक ट्रेनिंग करते हैं, और दोनों तरफ से जो है कहते हैं ताली एक हाथ से नहीं बजती. ये बहुत पुरानी कहावत है, जिस कहावत का मतलब है each and every person has to participate. So you can see not only the child has to adjust, but जो वहां पर already लोग काम कर रहे हैं, जिन्होंने उनको काम सिखाना है बच्चों को, उनको भी adjust करना पड़ता है. So we will see how they are doing this, and it's not only in the field of corporate world की जरूरत ना पड़े, अगर पड़े भी तो बहुत minimal मदद जिसको हम कहते हैं. जो सेकेंड पिक्चर आप देख पा रहे हैं, ये डॉक्टर अनीता घई हैं. शी इज अ ऑथर एंड अ प्रोफेसर इन अंबेडकर यूनिवर्सिटी दिल्ली. आई वाज ट्राइंग टू लोकेट हर वीडियो, मुझे मिला नहीं. मैम एक मोटराइज्ड व्हीलचेयर यूज करती हैं और मैम चल नहीं पाती, लेकिन इन्होंने अपने घर पे, इन्होंने कॉलेज में इस तरह की अडेप्टेशंस की हुई हैं कि ये मैक्सिमम जो है ये इंडिपेंडेंट रहे, कम से कम किसी की मदद ले. और व्हीलचेयर भी इनकी मोटराइज्ड है ताकि कोई गेट प्लेस्ड इन स्कूल्स. लाइब्रेरी में प्लेसमेंट बहुत आसानी से इन बच्चों को मिल जाती है, एंड बिकॉज सम डिपेंडिंग ऑन द काइंड ऑफ डिसेबिलिटी अगेन, एंड लॉट ऑफ कॉर्पोरेट्स, दीज आर सम जो है वो क्लासरूम के बाहर चले जाते हैं. सो टुडे आई विल जस्ट शो यू अ स्मॉल वीडियो फर्स्ट बिफोर वी ये छोटी सी के लिए बहुत बड़ी समस्या थी. अपने स्टाफ को मॉनिटर्स जिसकी हम बात करते हैं वो बहुत जरूरी हैं, क्योंकि अगर आपके कॉलेज उसमें हम कुछ अडेप्टेशंस कर सकते हैं, वो पॉसिबिलिटी है. इसके अलावा अगर आपको कुछ नया मॉनिटर खरीदना है, यू कैन ऑल्सो गेट, देयर इज अ मॉनिटर आर्म जिसको हम कहते हैं, आप देख सकते हैं. शी कैन इजिली टर्न द मॉनिटर. सो दिस मॉनिटर आर्म इज अवेलेबल इजिली, विच इज ऑफ ग्रेट हेल्प टू दीज चिल्ड्रन. Then the next point we come to is display setting. ये जो आप फर्स्ट पिक्चर देख पा रहे हैं, ये वाली पिक्चर, इसमें display setting is very very normal. Okay, like this is the first picture in which the display setting is very normal to the child. Now if you see the icons, they are very very small in size. So कई बारी when we also all cross about 40s, it becomes a challenge for us to look at those icons. अगर हम if we are not using glasses, we come and closer to the screen to look at those icons. But there is an option on Microsoft Word where we can enlarge the icons. Okay, हम जो icons हैं इनको enlarge कर सकते हैं so that the child with disability can, तो उसके against जो है to teach you all this. Some of you might be aware of it also. Now magnification की मैं बात करती हूँ. There is an option जिसमें हम विंडो को ही मैग्नीफाई कर सकते हैं. विंडो को मैग्नीफाई करने का मतलब है कि जो आपकी विंडो खुली हुई है उसका एक पर्टिकुलर पॉइंट जो है that can be that can be enlarged, that can be magnified, so that the child who has a visual problem, and also in case you are teaching to a larger group and this children has learning disability because he cannot see so many things on the screen, so this window magnifier helps the person to pinpoint and to concentrate on that particular thing. Now looking at the next point, again There are commercial softwares also which magnify. You can see in this picture, this magnification of commercial software is there, जो कि बहुत ज़्यादा आपकी स्क्रीन पे आप सिर्फ इंटरनेट एक्सप्लोरर का साइन भी देख सकते हैं, इतना भी एनलार्ज कर सकता है आपकी क्लास के लिए या बच्चे की जरूरत के अनुसार। इसके अलावा जिसको हम बात करते हैं स्क्रीन रीडर्स की, आजकल जितनी भी आप गवर्नमेंट वेबसाइट्स देखते हैं वहां पर ये स्क्रीन रीडर का एक छोटा सा आप देखेंगे एक आइकन होता है राइट साइड पे, मोस्टली गवर्नमेंट वेबसाइट्स पे। दिस इज फॉर दोज हु आर विजुअली इम्पेयर्ड, जो भी उस वेबसाइट पर टेक्स्ट है उसको वो पढ़ के आपका कंप्यूटर सुनाता है। So this screen reader option is also available on your Microsoft Windows, जिसमें आप इसको यूज कर सकते हैं। इसी प्रकार से जब कोई बच्चा जिसको लर्निंग डिसेबिलिटी है, he or she wants to type on the computer, अगर आपने कोई असाइनमेंट दिया है, वो टाइप करना चाहते हैं या वो नोट्स बनाना चाहते हैं, there is a voice recorder जिसको आप अगर आप दबाते हैं तो विंडोज ऑटोमेटिकली टाइप करते हैं। यू डोंट हैव टू मैन्युअली टाइप एंड यू डोंट हैव टू वरी अबाउट द स्पेलिंग एरर्स एंड ऑल। ऑटो करेक्शन इज ऑल्सो अवेलेबल। Then looking at the next last because time की constraint है, braille keyboard is also available। अगर आपके यहाँ पर कोई visually challenged है तो आप वो भी एक option provide कर सकते हैं उनको। So these are just a few things, I have tried to summarize it because थोड़ा वक्त की पाबंदी है, आज last day है and बहुत सारी मैम के यहाँ पर और भी speakers हैं। So as teacher educators, just last thing I want to say that we have to be flexible, we have to be adaptable. Okay, we cannot have things which are very as teacher educators we cannot be rigid. We have to make those adaptations की जब हमने बात की तो हमें पहले खुद अडाप्ट करना चाहिए। we have to be flexible, then only we can expect these teachers जो हमारे इंस्टीट्यूट से टीचर्स तैयार होके जा रही हैं वो अपनी क्लासरूम्स में फ्लेक्सिबल होंगी, वो करिकुलम मॉडिफिकेशंस लेकर आएंगी और वो अपनी क्लासरूम्स में जो है चेंजेस लेकर आएंगी। So with this, thank you Aarti ji for the lovely comment and thank you so much. I'm winding up here. If you have any questions, I would like to quickly take one or two questions because again the next speaker is there, I think so. कोई questions है आपके तो मैं वो questions ले सकती हूँ। Thank you सुशीला जी। Participants, first, just to wind up in one sentence before I hand over the virtual mic to Dr. Tripta. As teacher educators, if we bring the change in us, then only we can expect the change in the teachers whom we are training. And this is a ripple effect. जैसे कि आप पानी में अगर आप एक कंकड़ डालते हैं तो एक ripple effect waves create होती हैं. So you have to be that wave.
And enlightening our horizons. When you have and enlightening our horizons. When you have When you have very beautifully explained the symbolic meaning of inclusion. You have been with us this next speaker, that is our Honorable Dr. Sarabjit Kaur. Dr. Sarabjit Kaur is Principal Guru Ramdas B.Ed College, Jalalabad. She is President, Principals Association of Colleges of Education, Punjab Chapter. She is Executive Member of Principals Association of Colleges of Education, India. She is having 20 years teaching or research or administrative experience to her credit. She is approved PhD supervisor and guiding research scholars of MH and
How you should react, how you should accept, how you should receive the person. This is my question, and I will share my views on these things only. What we can contribute towards the well-being of such persons. They are part of our own society, they are part of our own world, and what is our duty? Being the member of the most responsible community of this world, that is the teachers community, and we need to provide a very supportive environment to these persons, because it is the most critical is that for their social need, the supportive environment is must. But the second thing is that stigma and discrimination must be tackled to ensure that such special people feel part of our system. Because when come a person who is living side to our own home, then we try to become sympathetic. We need not to be sympathetic. Anyone can have physiological disorders. Anyone can have mental disorders. Anyone can have mental illness. But what is our duty? Our duty is how to provide the proper treatment to the person so that the person feels that I am alike the person who is sitting beside me. So that's why we need to tackle the stigma and discrimination feeling in our society in a very well designed way as an individual, as a common person. And the third thing which I feel that is important to cater their social needs, that is the individual support. As we all know that individual differences are there, and especially able persons have their own interests, have their own strengths, have their own weaknesses. So we need to take care of the each person. We need to provide individual support to each and everyone in whatever way we can provide. There are so many circumstances, there are so many ways that we have to provide support to such persons. But we must keep in mind that what is the interest of the person, what is the strength of the person. Yeah, somebody has sent us text message. There is so much fear. There's so much feeling of shame. We need not to be ashamed of. Why? That is there. We need to accept and we need to take care, but with a feeling of love, with a feeling of empathy instead of sympathy. What is empathy? Empathy is placing yourself into the place of the other person. If I was there, what had I been aspiring for me from the locality, from the society, from the community, from the world? That is the question. Take the same feeling inside you, and you need to develop empathetic attitude in yourself so that you can provide the same treatment to the person that you aspire for yourself. It could be anyone that can be in the place of the other person. If specially able persons are around you, then you need to be empathetic. Whatever you feel that आपके लिए सोसाइटी करे, आपके लिए आपका समाज करे, आपके लिए आपका घर करे, आपके लिए आपकी फैमिली मेंबर्स करें, तो वही चीजें जो हैं वो आप उन लोगों के लिए करेंगे तो दे फील वेरी हैप्पी कि हमारे लिए भी कोई सोच रहा है. सो दीज वर द सोशल नीड्स जहां पे हम अपना रोल जो है वो पॉजिटिवली प्ले कर सकते हैं. नाउ कम्स इमोशनल सपोर्ट. इमोशंस इस दुनिया में मेरे ख्याल से एक ऐसी लैंग्वेज है जिनको कम्युनिकेट करने की जरूरत नहीं होती है. इफ आई एम एंग्री एवरीवन कैन सी, इफ आई एम हैप्पी एवरीवन कैन फील. तो उसमें हमारा जो इमोशंस हैं क्योंकि वो एक बेटर लाइफ जीने के लिए हमारे काम आती हैं. एक सेकंड की इमोशन जो है दैट कैन चेंज योर लाइफ. Now, in that duration, what could be your possible role that need to be taken care of? क्योंकि इमोशन के लिए हमें किसी लैंग्वेज की जरूरत नहीं है. आपके जो फेशियल एक्सप्रेशंस हैं, आपके जो बॉडी जेस्चर्स हैं, दे आर एनफ. और उसके साथ यू कैन क्रिएट वंडर्स ऑल्सो. तो दुनिया में आप जहां कहीं भी देखते हैं, किसी को खुश देखते हैं तो यू सी अ स्माइल. एंड अगर आप स्माइल को स्माइल के साथ ही रिस्पॉन्ड करते हैं तो दैट इज अ वेरी गुड जेस्चर. लेकिन अगर एंगर को एंगर के साथ ट्रीट किया जाए तो दैट इज वेरी डिफिकल्ट. तो कहीं ना कहीं बीइंग अ कॉमन पर्सन, बीइंग अ नॉर्मल पर्सन, इट्स आवर ड्यूटी कि हम ऐसे स्पेशली एबल्ड जो पर्सन्स हैं उनकी इमोशनल नीड्स को कैसे ले रहे हैं और उनको इमोशनल सपोर्ट जो है वो प्रोवाइड करना हमारी एक बहुत बड़ी जिम्मेवारी बन जाती है. क्योंकि हमें उनको ऐसी फीलिंग देनी है कि ऑफ कोर्स आई एम हियर फॉर यू, जस्ट डोंट वरी. तो this is an emotional touch, this is an emotional support. और ऐसे स्पेशली एबल्ड जो लोग होते हैं उनको ये फीलिंग का एहसास करवाना जो होता है वो बहुत ज्यादा जरूरी होता है. और इसमें we need not to buy any kind of equipment, वो बहुत ज्यादा भारी भरकम हमें किसी टेक्नोलॉजी की भी जरूरत नहीं पड़ती है, बहुत ज्यादा भारी भरकम सामान की भी जरूरत नहीं पड़ती है. दिस इज पॉजिटिवली. और अगर आप उनको मौका देंगे तो दुनिया में बहुत सारी एग्जांपल्स जो हैं वो स्पेशली एबल्ड लोगों ने जो है वो क्रिएट होते हैं कि स्पेशली एबल्ड जो लोग हैं उनकी नीड्स को पूरा करने के लिए कोलैबोरेटिव
blossom which springs
की नीड्स को पूरा करने के लिए कोलैबोरेटिव
blossom which springs from the soul. The way Madam has explained that what kind of responsibilities we should share with the society and how can we provide empathetical environment in the surroundings and supporting environment, all kinds of the supports that is the need of all human being. So I think the way she has explained each and everything by her routine experiences, that was commendable. And thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing your wisdom with us and all the valuable information that you have shared with us. And thank you for being with us this time. It has been a great pleasure. And I extend a very hearty vote of thanks for sharing with us in this event. It's a great pleasure.
Esteemed colleagues, Dr. Jasmeet, Dr. Sarbjit, thank you very much for your involvement today. Very, very valuable messages. I will not. So I've started with Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We are all very familiar with this concept, but it is very, very important for all students, especially students that have varied learning needs, understanding their physiological needs, safety needs, that concept of belonging, which I'm going to talk about today, because sometimes children that have diverse needs, that have learning disabilities, they don't necessarily feel that they belong to a community. जो डेटा अपने डॉक्टर ने शेयर किया सी just earlier on, we have a high proportion of students, and that's probably a reflection in the enrollment data that's been shown to us today. A lot of the time, the focus, the emphasis is on intellectual development. This is the curriculum, this is the specification, these are the books you have to study. And sometimes we forget to look at the child's needs holistically. We need to also make sure that our staff are able to teach to a high standard. Side of the classroom, small group work. All of this is part of the planning of the lessons, the sessions, the lectures. The planning takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of effort, but when you're delivering it, you can see the benefits of how much progress your students are making. The planning is only going to be effective if you know your students, you know their needs. So something that we use in England is teaching assistants. Jitte sanu lord pendiya, like for students that have very complex learning needs, we have teaching assistants with the teacher in the classroom, and then the teaching assistant supports the student in sort of like in addition to the teacher teaching the lesson. So the teacher and the teaching assistant have conversations first, so the teaching assistant understands the lesson, understands the lesson's learning objectives, and then he or she are familiar with the student. They will probably be with the student throughout their lessons every day, and then that process is very, very beneficial for students with complex learning needs as well. So access to learning, unfortunately, there are many barriers, and some of these barriers can be resolved quite easily, and others obviously require money, they require funding. But Sometimes it's the student's behavior that can be potentially a barrier that can stop them from accessing their learning. This should not be viewed negatively by the teacher, because the way the child is behaving, it's not necessarily out of spite. It's to do with the particular conditions that they are experiencing. Socializing, sometimes children and adults with learning disabilities or various other diverse learning needs, they struggle to socialize. Socializing is a big part of our learning environment. So it's not just about, speaking to the teacher and doing your work and handing in your assignments. It's about your peer relationships as well. And sometimes there can be a struggle there that we need to recognize as adults, as professionals, and we need to accommodate that. Literacy and numeracy, obviously, sometimes children, learners have dyslexia, they have dyspraxia. We need to accommodate for that in the fonts that we use. Now, please don't take this as a negative, but sometimes when I see presentations from India, lots of different fonts get used. And it is very, very disorientating. So there's a lot of research done on which fonts are clear to read in IT. And we all tend to use PowerPoints these days anyway. So simple things like the font you use, the size it is, the color backgrounds, very, very helpful. Dr. Sarabjit has already spoken about the emotional side of understanding our students' needs. They can't necessarily focus and concentrate for a long period of time, neither can we. Research shows that, the maximum we can concentrate is about 20 minutes. So please be mindful of that. Have shorter tasks where all students can actually focus and concentrate and contribute interactively with their learning and with their teachers. Physical ability, it's already been shown, students and staff in wheelchairs, they might have a walking frame. Sometimes it can be temporarily where someone's broken their leg, for example, and, they're using crutches, so they're not able to walk or maybe access classrooms or facilities that they could before. So being mindful of the physical ability. And then resources. Now, this is a big one, okay? So what we have to do as organizations is we have to commit funding to resources so that inclusivity can actually happen all the time. So it also has to be demonstrated in our policies. So legislation obviously exists because of the government, and then that legislation has to feed into our teaching and learning policies and procedures. And those policies and procedures have to be communicated to all staff. And then focus on their sort of sight and hearing impairments. We should be focusing on their ability. And when everybody needs to celebrate it. Everybody needs to acknowledge it. So I come back to this learning environment. These learning environments need to become learning communities. This word community is where everybody has a place. Everybody has a voice. And this is where staff and students begin to feel safe. They can then start being themselves. They can start reflecting what's around them. So if respect is around them, the students will start demonstrating respect. If confidence is around them, students will feel, positive self-esteem, have positive self-images. Also, in promotion, documentation or videos or prospectuses, leaflets, please be inclusive. Include all students. So when somebody is thinking about coming to your college and they have a particular need, they can see themselves in that prospectus. That is very, very going to come first. That is not essentially what we are looking for. What we are looking for is success based on each and every individual student's ability. And if we all put our minds to that, That is very, very possible, very possible. So this learning community, I just wanted to sort of like develop a little bit more about it. This learning community should welcome everybody. It should be a community that reflects that diversity, that promotes inclusion all the time. It should be warm, it should be appreciative, it should be encouraging of everybody, staff and students. The student contribution, it needs to be active, it needs to be acknowledged. Everybody should play a part. So for example, let's say it's sports day. There should be none of this attitude, oh, beta, you have a disability, you can't participate, you know this, or, oh, forget that group of children, it's going to create too much work. It's going to be too much effort. It's too much headache. We should not be having these negative attitudes. We should be embracing a learning community where everybody is equally valued. And once our learning community embraces that word of mouth will spread in the local area, in your professional communities, and you will be considered outstanding. And then the responsibilities of students. All students should be given responsibilities. It should not be, oh, you can't do this, you can do this. Think about who your student leaders are. Do you have diversity and inclusivity in your student leaders? All students have the right to express their voices. Now, students' opinions should also be respected, and staff should engage with students very, very positively to instigate change. Change is good. Now, this is exactly what we are doing with this diversity and inclusion. We are generating and creating change. Through that change, we are promoting awareness. We are empowering all of our students. We are also empowering staff through this fantastic international conference, this CPD session that we're all having, that you have been part of for the whole week. And again, this is something that's already been said this morning, and I am a big, big believer in this as well. This is a partnership that is very, very important. It is the core of this learning community that I have been speaking about this morning. When I say teachers, I do not just mean the ones that stand in front of the class. I mean the whole organization. Okay, but it is the teacher that is the face that the child recognizes. Sometimes the child doesn't get to see the principal, the child doesn't get to see the deputies, but that teacher that stands in front of the students, that is the connection. So therefore, I have put teachers, students and parents. This sort of like combination of these cogs in a machine of our education system is very, very important. And once all of these stakeholders work together, there is vast success that again needs to be celebrated. If one of these is absent, the machine doesn't work as well as it should. So all three stakeholders have to be present all the time. They have to invest in those relationships. They have to look at what the objectives are for the students, and then it inevitably leads to success. Thank you so much for listening. If you have any questions, I am happy to answer them.
Good afternoon, Jatinder ma'am.
Hello.
Yeah, my question is, see, we are in a developing nation, right? You are in UK, it is a developed one, and there are a lot of changes. I mean, we can't even compare. If I ask, what are few very important things? If I ask that we should let us not talk about legislation and policies, because those things are not in our hands, right? So what are the very few things, 2, 3, 4 things, ma'am, which you think within immediate, if we can change it, if I'm talking about the very elementary stage.
Absolutely.
What we should do, ma'am? Few things,
of course,
which is easy to do, which is not, it doesn't take a lot of money or a lot of time.
Absolutely.
What practically we can do, ma'am?
Yeah. Aarti, I understand, and please, आप ऐना सोचो भी मैं विलायत च पढ़ानी आ, भी मेरा school बहुत शानदार आ, like something from Karan Johar's movie. Please, it is not anything like that, okay? Like Tripta ma'am said, a point मैं ज़रूर अपने include करना चाहती सी introductions. I teach in a deprived area. I teach children from very, very poverty-stricken backgrounds. So जो funding आंदी आ, असी सरकारी स्कूल आ, सारी funding साडी सरकार तो आंदी आ. So जो ये limitations है जो आप बात करती हैं, I understand those limitations. I understand how funding can be very, very restricted. So let me come back then to your question. What can you do straight away? So the first thing that I like to do is I like to get data on my students. Okay, so what is their prior learning ability? So please don't overlook their ability. So joy it apne hana naturally ho janda hai, because we very much believe that able-bodied people are more superior, able-bodied people are more intellectual. So don't fall into those traps. Yeah, you could have somebody who's disabled, but they play the piano beautifully. Yeah, you can have somebody who doesn't necessarily good in English, but mathematically they are a genius. So recognize the student's strengths, but also acknowledge their weaknesses. Now, that is what you want to focus on in your planning. The planning is crucial. It is time consuming, Aarti, but this is where teachers will gain the rewards when they deliver their lesson. And if something doesn't work, have that moment of reflection afterwards and then tweak it for the next time. Look at small group work. Set a task, but split your class into small groups. Now, when you know the students' learning needs, this takes time as well. You don't just randomly buddy up the children. You buddy up the children where you got one student's strength and another student's weakness, and they lift each other up. You can only do that when you have your whole class data. So when at the beginning of the school year I look at my class data, I spend a lot of time looking at the students' data, what their needs are, where I can help, and also make that progress for that student so they can, at least achieve at what their ability is, if not exceed it. So again, I'm not saying we're chasing A stars. We're not chasing A-star grades. What we're looking at is giving all students the opportunity to learn. Nobody is ignored. Nobody is isolated. Nobody is marginalized. Everybody is included. Where does this start? It starts with the teacher. The way we speak to the children, the lessons we plan, the resources, the activities, the tasks. It is our duty to promote that inclusivity. And one of the best ways that we can do it is to incorporate it in our planning. The planning is key. And we don't need we don't need funding for that. We don't need resources. We don't need fancy labs. We don't, it goes back to basics, really. Okay, I hope that's answered your question.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And also, create a bank of resources, share those within your organization. We do a lot of that in my school. So, what works for you, share that. Have, training sessions and create like a folder on, Teams or somewhere on your virtual platform where everybody is dropping in their teaching and learning resources, and everybody can tap into that. So you're not just the one doing the hard work, everybody is doing the hard work, and everybody is sharing that good practice. This is something that I have tried to promote at the college in sort of like last year and the year before. Sharing good practice is important. So if we're doing something good, let's share it with everybody and not just keep it to ourselves. Okay? Thank you. Thank you so much. Any other questions? I'm happy to answer. No? Okay. Tripta ma'am, thank you so much for your time. Esteemed colleagues, thank you so much for listening to me this morning. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jaswinder Deva. In a very short term, you have accepted our and you are providing us your valuable time and views on the theme inclusion and diversity. You started with Maslow's hierarchy of needs theory and focused that one create a positive and supportive environment for all the students. Yes, teachers can do better for the society. They are the nation builders. So it is the duty of mainly after family, the duty of the teachers to come forward for the inclusion, for eradicating discrimination among masses on the basis of disability also, so that we can achieve this mission, inclusive education or inclusion in some fields. Thank you very much. Now it's time for feedback. I will request participants who can come forward for their feedback for the last 6 days that they have listened and learned from all the delegates. Yes, please. Aarti, would you like to say or provide feedback for the last 6 days, or I must say the 7 days that you are a consistent listener? So it will be, I will appreciate if you will provide some feedback.
Ma'am, you are getting my feedback every single day. It's all appreciation from my end. I mean, I have not, like, sometimes I join late, having some other commitments, but yeah, I tried that I should join at least for half an hour, for 1 hour. I don't want to miss this. There is no doubt about it that I have learned many new things. There is no doubt about this. Yesterday's session was absolutely different and very, I mean, it's my congratulations to you all, the STS school, the college. It's a joint effort, I would say. Today's session, all the 3 teachers, it was again, I'm speechless. The first one was again very nice. The second lecture was too good. And the concluding lecture by Madam Jaswinder was again, get an ice on the cherry. Cherry on the top. Sorry, it is like that. So, ma'am, it's all very nice. I am really happy to be a part of it. I was there listening all the lectures. Yes, ma'am, that's all from my end. And I want the presentations, ma'am, if it is possible to kindly, if you guys can share the presentations, it would be very beneficial for all of us, ma'am.
Yes, we will.
Yes, ma'am.
We will definitely share them in the group. Yes, thank you, Aarti. Now, not taking much time, we are moving towards our valedictory session, and I would like to invite Dr. Tripta Parmar, Principal, Sant Darbara Singh College of Education for Women, Loko, to come forward for the introduction and welcome to our chief guest.
So,
We have landed now to our valedictory session, and I take it my prime privilege to welcome and introduce today's chief guest, Professor Vice Chancellor, Raj University, Tirupati Sagar. So, can we start the session? Thank you so much, sir. So, can you switch on your camera, please? Today's chief guest, Professor Gurjit Singh Ji, Vice Chancellor, Akal University, Tirupati Sagar, is in with the Vice Chancellor. He is Dean International Students, Punjab University, Chandigarh, from identifying districts of programs of creating employment and self-employment constituted by Ministry of Rural Development Planning Commission, Government of India, New Delhi. Sir is having 27 years teaching or research experience. Switzerland, Economic and Social Commission for Asian and Pacific Government of Punjab, Chandigarh. The opportunity to present the report of the activity to equate yourself, your good self, to what we have done during this 7 days long program. This was 7 days international equality program in Lightweight Mode on the theme Vision 2022, a new look towards diversity and inclusion, which began society still doesn't accept these. Society still doesn't accept these exceptions. By talking on physical barriers, she pointed on lack of funds unaccessibility of school, poor building, lack of assistive devices, lack of funds, etc. On the sensitized the faculty on the
especially the type of diversity where human being have some controls in one form or the other. Whether we can make an effort to include those who are marginalized or those who are left over in the race or just in the competition or otherwise also due to the nature because they are so, then answer comes that probably elimination of every type of diversity is beyond the human control, something which is made by the nature, very difficult to change it. But certainly effort need to be made and efforts are made at different levels. So far as the policies and programs are concerned, different type of, for inclusion of the leftover or the marginalized section in the mainstream of everything, different type of program, different countries have undertaken, or the natural process itself is helping those who are on the weaker side on every front in the society. But nevertheless, if we look at the 21st century, then 21st century is the age of knowledge. It is said that as compared to the past when technology was mattering, when the landed property was mattering, when Bahubal was mattering, and now in 21st century, it's the age of the knowledge. And whatever we are visualizing right now, people like me who are a little bit on the other side of the age for us, when we look at 20-25 years back, then we never visualized that such type of things would happen in our own lifetime. Now, visible before us is that a person's school dropout person, university dropout person somehow came with an idea, just an idea, and they translated that idea and became the 3-4 richest person of the world just in a period of 20-25 years. Now, the person, Google person, the person, Facebook person, the other people. So what they were just 30-35 years back, you will find they were the ordinary people, and they became richest. Never ever it happened throughout mainstream, who are not included or who are marginalized or who are left over by the time in the race of moving upward or for upward mobility in their life, in their career, or in their profession, or is what can be done for that? How we can make it? The fundamental question is how to capacitate these excluded persons so that they become a part of the mainstream. And education is one, but providing education to everybody, the type of education which has the value. This is the most challenging aspect, and that is where the discussion during this faculty development program that will help to focus the things, that will help for policymakers to coin with the new type of initiative, that will help the teachers to focus on the leftover peoples, to capacitate them to take care of their
भी रलने नहीं फिर रलने नहीं एक रह गया मैं करता मैं कर दूंगा कोई ਜਿਹੜੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਛਡਵਾਏ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਛੁੱਟੀਆਂ ਉਹ ਆਪਾਂ ਕੀ ਕਰਨਾ ਠੀਕ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਫਿਰ
Now, ladies and gentlemen, now we have substantial evidence now, and this has been proved repeatedly by the researchers that if we include the leftover people, marginalized students with us, then probably, and we can train them as a better persons, better human being, which is most important. We can have their holistic development and groom these students to be more sensitive towards the need of others, or making them to realize what are the needs of the others and what are their duties and responsibility, not towards other, but towards towards others as well, just to have better success of the democracy, for better workforce, and for most important, more cohesive societies in the countries like India, which is considered to be a land of diversity and land of diversity. So for that, what really we can do to look at that, first we have to find out what really has already been done. Now, looking at the schedule of the program, then definitely people in some of the lecture were focused on that what are the issues and challenges for inclusive education policy or inclusive education practices. And this was also pointed out by in the last lecture on the special needs as well, that we have constitutional provisions like right to education, even the constitution preamble of the Indian constitution, which talk of the right of everybody, every citizen has a right to justice, liberty, equality, and fraternity. That's the 4 keyword guiding principle of our constitution. Equality, justice, these are 2 words that immediately come very, very close to the topic of the day, which is inclusion and the diversity. So we have fundamental right which guarantee us the equality in every sense. Though we have a caste system, we have a different religion, so we have other things which are differentiating one from the other. But nevertheless, we have a fundamental right which provides us the right to equality with each other and ensure justice for all citizens, including the leftovers. We have legislative policies as well, which provide the right to education, right of person with a disability, Rehabilitation Council of India Act 1992, which empower the people with a special disability also. We have national programs for education like Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan or inclusive education for disability and secondary stage, then RMSA, Rashtriya Madhyamik Shiksha Abhiyan. And we have a reservation policies in education institutions so far as student seats are concerned, and in government job, scholarship schemes for the economically weaker segment of the society and those caste group who are traditionally left over from the mainstream. We have all those programs. We have a very large battery of those programs which has the sanctity of the legislative constitutional provision, and the law enforcement is behind them, and they are enforced by the different government, both local as well as the country level governments, so far as India is concerned. In spite of all that, if we look at the hard fact and the data that where we stand today, then definitely the situation is not very encouraging or very satisfying. Though if we look at what we were in 1947 when we achieved independence and what we are at the present, then definitely we have covered a lot of distance in bridging these gaps, interpersonal gap, intersocial group gaps, and these individual gaps, maybe gender gap as well, specifically the intergender gaps. We have achieved a commendable success, but nevertheless, journey is not over. Still lot need to be done. If we look at the data, for example, data with me is that in 2006, after that, no such effort was made by the scholars. A study group from Punjab University led by Professor Ghumman, they came out with the alarming facts. And that alarming fact is that in Punjab University on the campus, only 2.2% student out of 100, only 2 students are strictly from the rural background and 98% are from the urban background. And from Guru Nanak Dev University, figure was 3%. From Rajiv Gandhi National University, it was 2%. So 2%, whereas the proportion of the rural in the population is more than 60%. So 60% people having only 2% share in the premier education institution. So this speaks of the rural-urban divide in the state, which is little bit a more egalitarian state as compared to the state like Bihar, Jharkhand, and other states. This is one dimension. If you look at the courses, for example, in the general education, the proportion of rural student is 5%. In professional, it's 2.75%. If you look at more and more courses, specifically in which are high rewarding and decent job catching courses, then proportion of rural student is almost negligible. And same way, if we go to the schools, for example, if you go to the rural school these days in Punjab, then they have over-representation of people from the leftover communities, from the marginalized community, SCs, STs, BCs. They have over-representation. But if we go to the schools which are of the higher levels, so far as the market is concerned, I am not saying they are of the higher level, but I am saying from the market point of view, from their fee structure or from their affiliation. On the top in India right now is IB schools, where the fee goes up to even 3-4 lakhs per annum per student. These are the dream schools for, and we have only few schools in India these days. Same way, Cambridge University affiliated schools. CBSE schools, then we have local education board affiliated schools, these type of schools. Then when you move from lower side to upper side, then you will find that the proportion of the people from marginalized segments, they continue to decline, and probably it would be almost negligible so far as the marginalized segment of the students in IB and Cambridge affiliated schools, their representation is there. Because their fee structure and other conditions are so stringent and so costly that a student from these segments, they can't dream of to get that type of education. Not only to that, if we go to the look at the structure of the society where the student from different segment of the society, they are going even for schooling, not to speak of higher education. Certainly, I know a family whereby I visited, once I visited them, I asked where these children are going to schools, and they said that no, we have put these children, this girl has now moved to London just for study of these two kids. So they have left, they have bought a house there. So those who can afford, for them now sky is the limit, they go to that type of education. But to be more realistic, when we come to India, even in India, even in Punjab, then there's a segmentation of the students and postgraduate in MBA program. So question comes, who can go there? Can the student from marginalized segment of the society can dream of going to there or to get that type of education? So some sort of this segregation is already going on. Then how we can avoid this type of segregation? Certainly government has a program for that. We have a reservation policy that need to be taken care of. And that can provide access to that. But education, this reservation of seats, this can go to a certain extent, but this also creating another type of divide within the segments itself. If we look at the seats in the very high quality higher education institution or in higher schools, their seats are totally filled so far as the reservation of seats is concerned. But those students, they are from mainly from the urban area, from the rural area go, they are either the government school or the government institutions. So providing access became a big question also to the high quality education institution. And second is how to provide quality education in those government schools, provide this new government with of MBAs or teaching and extra. So this is, then question is whether we can leave the situation as such, whether the society need to go with the status quo. I think here comes the role of the society, role of the individuals, and the role of the institution, like Sant Darbara Singh College of Education and other institutions, and Kingsway College or Guru Ramdas College, which are not, I think, profit-oriented, which are just to serve the society, to serve the leftover segment of the society. So I think they can come up if they take this pride, or they take this as their initiative, as their vision and mission, to provide a quality education to all segment of the society, including leftover and the capable segment of the society, then probably it can change the things a lot. It can play a very, very crucial role. And for example, to our trust, this, which is running 129 schools in the rural area, more societies who are philanthropic, who are involved in philanthropic society, and the communities or the people who have resources, they come forward to help. Then probably these leftover segment of the society, they can be provided access to the high quality education to the leftover segment of the society, which can provide a feeder for these leftover people to fly high in the sky. So in the last session, it was commendable effort was made to focus on the special needs and the program for the those who are not physically have a different abilities, special abilities. Then to me, I think these students need to be told the examples, giving examples that what wonder these people can do, because these type of disability, they don't stand in their path. When I was listening to the lecture, then interestingly it reminded me a scientist known as Stephen Hawking, who was professor of physics at Cambridge University. So his name comes after two very genius professors. One was Newton, everybody knows. Second was Einstein, and he is the third person who is known to be the person of the century, physicist of the century. And he was confined to the wheelchairs for almost 20-25 years. And you know, he was, if somebody has to give an example of the person of the with extreme disability, extreme inability to do something, then he is the example. Because in whole body, only one muscle at here near the nose, it was working, rest of the body was not working. He can't even speak any word, he can't even express himself, he can't raise his hand, he can't raise any part of the body, only one limbs, and to that limb was going on in the brain of the person. And he is considered to be one of the genius person in spite of such a extreme form of disability. And second is, I was watching Kaun Banega Crorepati, in that I came across one girl, Himani Bundela, who won 1 crore prize, and she was a visually impaired person. So that put people like us to, you know, to lower our head in her respect, that a person with such disability was having such a high knowledge. It was beyond imagination. So his visual impairment never stood between her and the knowledge. And that led him to win a very prestigious award of 1 crore. Another person, when I listen to the Gurbani daily, then Bhai Gurmesh Singh Ji and Bhai Surjan Singh Ragi, they were the Shromani Ragis, and they were visually impaired persons, but they were highly regarded, and they reached at the highest of their career so far as their profession is concerned. So these are the living examples which once told or shared with these persons who are not as good as others so far as their physique is concerned, then probably that put the whole perspective, or that will motivate them in the right perspective, and that will encourage them not to imbibe them, but to reach to near them, and they can overcome their whatever feeling they might be having going on in their mind so far as their disabilities or weaknesses are concerned. So with these words, I again express my sincere gratitude to the organizers, and especially to Sushila Narang, Dr. Sarvajit Kaur, Dr. Tripta Parmar ji, for providing me this wonderful opportunity to be with this group. And my apology for my weak knowledge on the subject, which I was not able to do justice, I think, because I was odd man out, having a economics background, and to be in the company of speaking on a topic which was hardcore of the educationist, like the distinguished educationist joining this valedictory function. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for sparing your precious time. Sir, it is your humility that you are saying that you are not well informed with the topic, but you have given us the latest and updated information regarding the topic. Sir, I just want to add one thing. Yesterday we were having special children with us,
one of them was modeling for special children. She goes for modeling, and it is all because her mother is her mentor. And she has got the support from the community also. So she has done wonders in her life. She was for 12
Data are potent. People are so eager to help to these students, those who could not help themselves so far as education needs are concerned. Then funding comes from outside and their education needs. She was daughter of a brick kiln worker, jo patti de vich kola panda si. He was having 3 daughters, and 3 daughters were sitting at home because of they could not finance their studies. So our teachers brought them here, financed her study for 5 years. Not only her fee was paid, but even this transportation charges was paid. She was provided with the books and other material, required material. Now after 5 years, look at the transformation which took place. From a brick kiln, ਪੱਠੇ ਦੀ ਮਜ਼ਦੂਰੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਯੂਨੀਵਰਸਿਟੀ ਦੇ ਜਾਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਕਾਲਜ ਦੇ ਇੱਕ ਦਿਨ ਲੈਕਚਰ ਹਾਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਖੜ ਕੇ ਲੈਕਚਰ ਕਰਦੀ ਹੋਏਗੀ ਲੜਕੀ. This is the magic of education. What that magic comes if all of us are concerned about the special need of these peoples.
Yes, over to Dr. Sushila, please.
Thank you so much, sir. I wish a very good afternoon to you, sir, and all the event participants and all the principals and all collaborative organizers over here. I regard this as an honor and privilege to extend a vote of thanks to our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Akal University, Bathinda. Once a great man said that feeling gratitude and expressing it is like, wrapping a present and not giving it. So as we know that this event is a collaborative event of Sant Darwara College of Education, Moga, Guru Ramdas College, Jalalabad, and Canby College of Education, Abohar, which is a very wonderful example in today's society, in education society. Therefore, I would like to express on behalf of all the collaborative organizers, thank you, sir, for giving your precious time and making your time available for us in such a crucial days. I know that this time is the personality itself is an inspiration to all of us, and that you are so humble and down to earth. I always say that sir is so humble and down to earth. सभी कहते हैं ना जो बड़ा हुआ घड़ा होता है वो कभी शोर नहीं करता, और बहुत जो फला फूला पेड़ होता है वो हमेशा झुककर बात करता है. वो सेट एग्जांपल है आपके लिए. You are so humble and inspiration to all of us, and thank you so much for sharing with us your words of wisdom, and your encouragement always help us to carry out important events like this. We thank you being with us in this valedictory session. It has been a great pleasure, sir, and looking forward to see you soon in next venture also. And I assure you that whatever suggestion you have given to us, we will definitely carry forward in our life. Thank you so much, sir. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
One thing I would like to say that as we say that mitochondria is powerhouse of the body and it provides energy to our body, I would like to appreciate Tripta ma'am that she is a powerhouse of this event. So I congratulate her that she, just because of her effort, we all are gathered here and we are together and organizing this event. Congratulations to all the staff and organizers of STS College of Education, Moga.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your warm words. It was never possible without the support of collaborating agencies. And
you are powerhouse, ma'am. Powerhouse. You are powerhouse.
But that also needs energy, and that energy comes from the team and you collaborating forces. Thank you so much, ma'am. It will be a great thing that if we are able to improve the life of only one disabled child, differently able child. So I think so. This FDP is an excellent experience. We have done FDPs on NAC framework. We have done FDPs on research methodology, new education policy. And this FDP is totally different because through this FDP, we could connect with the special children. And we were able to sensitize the faculties of the institutions to come to know the needs and adaptations for such children. Thank you so much for being with us, ma'am. Over to you.
Thank you, ma'am. Now I would like to request all to please stand up for national anthem. Gurpreet ma'am, please play.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे
All the participants, thank you very much.